What's up, Spider-Man Nation? This is a very, very special episode of Spider-Man's Tangled WebShow we got here. It's technically episode number 4, but actually we've got some pretty important news to talk about this week. There's a certain little team-up that sort of happened this week, and I think we need to talk about it before it becomes obsolete or old news, and plus it's a topic that everyone's talking about right now, so we're going to hit the iron while it's hot. Joining me today down there is James. Say hello to the people, James.
What's up?
And that weird-looking guy right there is Jan. Say hello to the people, Jan.
Hello.
All right, so this week, tonight actually, we're actually going to talk about this little thing called Sony Pictures Marvel Studios Team-Up. Yes, Marvel announced late Monday night. I don't know why. It was like midnight when they announced it. Sony Pictures Entertainment and Marvel Studios have worked out a deal to put Spider-Man into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they will be able to share the character throughout their respective companies. Marvel characters will be able to appear in Spider-Man solo movies, and Spider-Man will be able to appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Basically, Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal will be collaborating on solo Spider-Man films owned by Sony, and Kevin Feige will be able to use Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe pretty much however he pleases. Basically, the deal boils down to they worked out a deal apparently for free. That's what we're hearing from various sources. I'm not sure how accurate they are. Apparently, Sony and Marvel worked out a free deal where Marvel gets use of the character. Sony still gets to own, distribute, license, and gets final creative control of the character. So basically, I want to get everyone's basic thoughts. Oh, before I even go into that, also, it has been confirmed pretty much by the press release itself, but pretty much by everything we've heard so far, that the Amazing Spider-Man franchise with Mark Webb, Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Dane DeHaan is dead. It's just dead, gone, not coming back. They're talking about maybe the Sinister Six and spin-off movies may come out. We don't know what the hell is going on there. And I'm not sure anyone even cares at this point because Spider-Man's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and that's what everyone's talking about. So I want to get some basic thoughts from everyone right now on this whole Sony-Marvel team-up deal. Are you excited? Are you disappointed? What are your thoughts in general? James, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Sony-Marvel team-up?
Hallelujah, and it's not to sound mad, because I like the last two Spider-Man movies. I'm not bitching at the Mark Webb series. I thought it was pretty good. It kind of has like a really downside where I don't really want to watch no more, because it was clearly it's like Star Wars ending with The Empire Strikes Back and you don't get Return of the Jedi. It ends really weird. So you got that incomplete storyline where the original Raimi trilogy, you could say, ended in the trilogy, and that was it. This news, though, why I'm excited is because the Marvel Cinematic Universe needed Spider-Man. Not so much that Spider-Man needs the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm not going to be like, all fanboy like that way, but they needed Spider-Man, and I feel like they needed the Fantastic Four. That's the only other property that I really think that they need to have, because X-Men can be their own little thing in the X-Men universe when Marvel getting money just from royalty checks. But they really need Fantastic Four, and they really needed Spider-Man, and they got Spider-Man. And you can already see how, they got the Daredevil show on Netflix, so they can do an episode now where Spider-Man in the second season teams up with him to battle Kingpin. You can do like storylines from the comic books now that the movies couldn't do because, well, Captain America guest star, or, well, this was a new Avengers storyline, or, well, the Unmasking doesn't make sense without Civil War. Now you can do them in the Marvel Cinematic Universe if it fits. The downside I don't like is, I have said it before, Andrew Garfield, I'm not all fanboy as much as John is on the guy, but when it comes to playing Spider-Man, not Peter Parker, but Spider-Man, they literally hit the jackpot tiger. They had a guy who, when I watched those two movies, I felt like I was finally seeing my favorite Webb head on the big screen. Where Toby, I felt like, oh, I'm seeing Peter Parker. I didn't feel like in the Spider-Man scenes I was seeing Spider-Man. It was kind of the role reversal with Andrew Garfield. I really think it sucks that he's gone because I think his Spider-Man and his series could have easily just slid into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That was like an easy fit. But if they want to go their own way, I'm interested to see where they're going to go with casting.
All right, Jan, overall thoughts on the Sony Marvel team-up?
I'm kind of mixed about the whole thing. On one hand, it'd be cool to see, like James said, maybe like a Spider-Man Daredevil team-up or something like that. You know, there's a lot of exciting possibilities to see Spider-Man play off other characters. But you know, it sucks to lose Andrew Garfield, and I'm also getting kind of fatigued by just like all these Spider-Man franchises, like, you know, starting and then ending. Like, I mean, James said that Spider-Man 3 like wrapped up that trilogy, and I actually disagree. I feel like Spider-Man 3 had a really incomplete ending. Like, it just ended on a really depressing note.
What?
And I always feel like bummed out whenever I'm done watching that movie. Like, not even just because it's a bad. Not even just because it's...
Sorry guys, my sister was just telling me something. I guess the oven was still on from my mom made pizza. So she was asking me what the oven was on. So excuse me, so keep on going.
But so I think like Spider-Man 3 is like a movie where I always feel like really depressed at the end of it because it just ends on like a really weird note with like Mary Jane and Peter like dancing, you know, in the street or whatever, and then on top of that, it's not.
What's that?
What?
At that jazz club she works at.
Yeah, whatever that. Yeah, I don't watch Spider-Man 3 very often, so forgive me for not knowing like some parts of it very well. So like I don't know. I mean, it sucks that like another Spider-Man franchise is incomplete, and I feel like I'm getting tired of like them just canceling everything, or like, you know, I would like to see, you know, like some kind of finality or conclusion to a Spider-Man like movie storyline. But also on the other hand, like they I think there's, you know, Amazing Spider-Man 2 wasn't a bad movie, but it had a lot of problems, and I think I think a fresh start could be a pretty good thing. Honestly, at the point right now, I'm kind of at the point right now where I'm just kind of like waiting. You know, I'll start. I think I said I'll get excited for the new Spider-Man movie when I walk out of the theater satisfied, or I'll get excited for it if Spider-Man is in Civil War and his portrayal in Civil War is mind-blowingly awesome. So I'm gonna wait until I see what Marvel's take on Spider-Man is like movie-wise before I get excited for it.
So it's actually quite interesting what we've got here. We got James pretty positive about it, Jan pretty mixed about it. You know it's a bad sign for everything everywhere when I'm playing Captain Negative.
Oh, John, I think you got negative before on stuff.
Yeah, but I don't get like overly negative about things very often.
Yeah, I've been that guy lately.
You know it's a bad sign for everything everywhere where I have to be the one to rain on people's parades. I don't like this. And I'll admit this right now. I'm a fanboy for the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I know, shock. That's even more shocking than Brian Williams lying on the nightly news, which, to be honest, wasn't that shocking to begin with. Journalists lie? Wow. Holy crap, everybody duck and cover. It's not so much that I hate the idea of Spider-Man being with Marvel. It's that I hate the way this is completely just utterly been a big middle finger to just... I have to articulate this right, or this is just going to be a complete waste of time. I have to say this exactly right. Mark Webb and Andrew Garfield and that entire team put so much hard work into what they did on those two movies. Andrew Garfield loved the character, he was the character, and he was everything I ever wanted to see in that character. Mark Webb, I think, understood Spider-Man and understood what those movies needed to be more than a lot of people have understood Spider-Man I think, in the past 15 years. I'm going to say that right now. I really think Mark had a really unique, accurate vision of what Spider-Man should be. And so when I see those two just utterly thrown on the street like this, because from everything that's been said, those two are done. And from everything that's been said, Mark Webb was summarily dismissed. Andrew Garfield, we'll get into this a little bit later, was apparently approached to continue into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and according to him, it made no sense for him to continue. So, basically, if you ask me, Andrew Garfield was summarily dismissed as well, because while he was offered the chance to come back, even he acknowledged that it made no sense. So he might as well have been summarily dismissed.
Well, to be fair, every actor says that when they have a big superhero role that, oh, they offered me the next movie, but I declined to do it because I didn't want to do it because I didn't like where they were taking the character. Michael Keaton said that about Batman. Val Kilmer said that about Batman. George Clooney said that about Batman. Well, there's a lot of actors that said that about Batman. Christian Bale, I think, said that about Batman, even though there was no way because this series was over. And Tobey Maguire said that about Spider-Man 4 in the reboot. I mean, he said, well, they offered it to me, and, I just didn't want to do it after the original director left. And to me, that kind of feels like a cop-out, because it almost feels like, trying to save face, and I don't want to say that they fired me because they didn't think I was good for the character no more. Even though if fans liked you, they might have your back, kind of thing.
Which, to be honest, I will get into that more as we go on here. But to see Mark and Andrew just thrown out on the street like this is abhorrent to me. And plus, I fail to see how Spider-Man joining with Marvel. Now, here's the thing I'm going to say right now. I am fully aware. I am not so dumb as to not realize that everything I say right now, from a creative storytelling standpoint, which is where I'm coming from, is completely moot when you talk about money. When you talk about greenbacks, people are just gonna go ape shit if you make a Spider-Man Iron Man team-up movie. That's gonna make unidentifiable amounts of money. We all know this. So everything I'm gonna say right now, I know matters exactly none at all. I know it doesn't matter. But this is where I'm coming from a creative storytelling standpoint. I'm not cool with really anything when you say, put Spider-Man in the Avengers, or team Spider-Man up with this major Marvel character. I'm not cool with that, and I'll get into reasons why I'm not later. So that's my overall thoughts. James is positive, Jan is mixed, I'm fairly negative. I want to get into this a little bit more. I want to give thanks to comicbookresources.com. They put together a very nice article that kind of details everything we know about this deal as of right now. So we're going to be working off of this article as a basis. The first, and actually we're going to go point by point throughout this article because it's organized pretty well. So I want to give props to let's see who wrote this article. I want to give them credit. Albert Ching, managing editor. Thank you, sir, for writing this article. I want to give props to you for doing that and organizing it for me. Well, not for me directly, but for us to use indirectly. The first point, a lot of people are actually not taking into account. A lot of people I've heard are saying, oh, Marvel got the rights back. Marvel got the rights back. No, Marvel did not get the rights back. Marvel is sharing the character with Sony. Sony still technically, I believe, owns the character. They're kind of renting it out to Marvel. Is that a fair statement? I think that's
really fair. Like, I'm not going to call out other Spider-Man sites and our Spider-Man shows or whatever, but I was on another Spider-Man fan webpage, and there was a comment. The caption clearly reads on their article of it, Spider-Man to be shared between Sony and Marvel, and the article is just a reprint of what the press release was from Marvel, where it says Sony still gets final say because they still technically own the movie character rights to Spider-Man. And then all these people are like posting pictures of like Captain America carrying an injured Peter Parker away from the Sony logo. It says, we're taking you home, kid. It's like, no. You're taking him on vacation until Sony can figure out what the fuck they want to do with this guy. You're Captain America is more babysitting Peter Parker than rescuing him.
Yeah,
Exactly.
basically.
Sony still owns the right. Sony still technically owns the rights to this. They are renting him out to Marvel, and Marvel and Sony are going to collaborate on what to do with this character. Now here is the big problem. A lot of people say, "Oh, Kevin Feige and all the people at Marvel are going to get the character right," while Amy Pascal and Avi Arad and Matt Tolmach over at Sony screwed up the character. I said that because I was about to swear, but I stopped myself. Trying to make this as family-friendly of a podcast as possible. Even though that's going to go out the window probably in about 5 minutes when I drop an F-bomb.
Which last I said, they did make these two movies, and people say are two of the greatest superhero movies of all time. But because they had a reboot and Spider-Man 3 immediately, they're hacks and they don't know what to do with the character. But yet they were singing their praises for these two movies, Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2.
I mean, I will admit. Now, actually, I have an actual question. How much involvement in Spider-Man in the first two Spider-Man movies did Matt Tolmach have?
I don't think he was a president hardly at all.
Because
Tolmach's not credited for this one, but the other two are.
I think according to what I've heard, I think Matt Tolmach was actually president of the studio during the first trilogy. Which
you guys want to know who did have a big part in those first two movies? Kevin Feige.
I thought you were going to say Laura Ziskin, rest her soul.
Rest her soul. But Kevin Feige actually.
Rest her soul.
Kevin Feige was.
Really got the character. When you would see her in interviews and like the documentaries for the original trilogy, you really got a sense that she got Peter Parker. And Spider-Man. For Avi Arad, I mean, even going back to the '90s cartoon, he made some really dumb, like questionable. Did you even know who this guy is? Decisions, and I love the '90s cartoon, and. There's those behind-the-scenes stories about how Green Goblin was going to be the final villain of the first season, and it almost looked like they were building up Norman to be the Goblin, and then last minute they had him hire the Hobgoblin because Avi Arad goes, I thought Hobgoblin came first. No, Green Goblin. And then the producers and the writers said, no, Green Goblin comes first. And then Avi Arad goes, but we already have the toy. Okay, fine, then we have to use Hobgoblin then. I mean, this guy does have some dumb decisions when it comes to Spider-Man, but he wasn't the only person making that movie. So to blame him for everything bad in the Raimi trilogy or everything bad in the Mark Webb 2 movies now is kind of, beating a dead horse because he didn't come up with every decision that you dislike.
And plus, it's like a lot of people get on Avi Arad because Sam Raimi came out and said, "Oh well, Avi forced Venom on me." But really, as someone, I guess it's a little behind-the-scenes thing.
Well, can I go on a rant about that really quick?
No.
That's actually not true.
No. Let me talk first.
And Sam Raimi lied about it. I mean, he was at Comic-Con going, "Oh yeah, they approached me on Venom, and I didn't really like Venom. But once I read that first issue 300 of Venom, I fell in love with the character, and I knew he had to be in this movie." Fast forward years later, I never liked Venom. I never wanted him in my movie. Yeah, it really fucking shows.
And plus, it's like, as someone who really did just like rewatch Spider-Man 3, because as a behind-the-scenes thing, I was on a bit of a Venom kick last week. That's why we did 300 for the classic review.
The episode I missed is one of my favorite issues of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we talked about 300, Amazing 300 on the previous episode because I was on a bit of a Venom kick, and I decided to rewatch Spider-Man 3. Venom really isn't the biggest problem with that movie.
No, he's not.
All right,
the problem is that it has
I always thought this about issue 300, but I always felt like that issue 300, there's a lot of 80s things in there between the hairstyles and everything, and the Candy Bambi and stuff like that, but does anybody else think that if you just slightly update it to the modern times, that issue 300 can be easily adapted into a movie?
No, not really.
When I read it, I always feel like that you can easily make a Venom fan film if you had the budget to make a realistic Venom for a movie. That could really get passed off as like at least a fan film.
I could see it as like an episode of a TV show, like a season premiere of a TV show, but not necessarily a movie.
All right, Jan, I will give you 1 minute to go on a Spider-Man 3 rant.
Okay, so the problem wasn't that Avi Arad forced Venom on Sam Raimi. The movie was already going to have 3 villains. Originally, it was going to be Sandman, Vulture, and Harry. But then Avi Arad just replaced Vulture with Venom because Venom was more popular than the Vulture. But it was always going to be overcrowded, so that's bullshit.
But I do agree, because as much as I'm a fan of Spider-Man 3, I think it's overrated. Not in the sense of it's the greatest movie of all time and nobody else sees my vision, kind of thing. But more of it's bad, but it's not as bad. It's more of a so bad it's good kind of thing to me. But I do agree, as a person who is a fan of the Venom character, when he's done right, I felt like if you're going to do Venom justice, he should be a villain in his own movie. If they wanted Venom in this movie, had it been just the 2 villains or the 3 with Vulture, have Peter in the black suit setting up Venom with him ending the movie with him ripping off the black suit and dropping on Eddie, and then 4 being him versus Venom.
And it's just, a lot of people are crapping on Avi Arad. A lot of people are crapping on Matt Tolmach just because of his executive producer title. And a lot of people are crapping on Amy Pascal because of... And Amy Pascal stepped down. If anyone doesn't know this already, Amy Pascal stepped down as co-chairman of Sony Pictures. She's now producing the Spider-Man film. A lot of people crap on Amy Pascal because apparently she was the front runner for the Sinister Six movie and the other spin-off movies. Now, I will be the first to admit, those spin-off movies were going to fail. Those were going to epically fail. Like,
I still don't see how they equaled those movies. I mean, it's like I want to see Spider-Man. Okay, I would like spin-off movies about other Spider characters. I would love a Miles Morales movie. I would love a 2099 movie. I would love a Venom spin-off. But Sinister Six and Aunt May's Secret Spy movie, some of the other ideas they had, no.
And it's just, I will not deny that those movies are going to fail. And I'll get into this a bit more. My problem with Marvel getting these rights back and the Amazing franchise just being chucked out the window, it's not so much that Marvel got the rights back, because we all knew this was coming. I knew this was coming. And I was really just kind of... I'm not going to say I had this rant prepared, but it's just like I didn't allow myself to accept that this was coming until I saw the news. And I'm really glad that because I didn't even see this news until about a day after it came out, just because I'd happened to be passed out by the time it came out because I was so tired that night. And then I didn't even see it till about 2 o'clock the next day because I was in classes all day. And I'm really glad I didn't see this news at midnight because I would have freaked out. And I literally went, let me just say this right now. It's not the fact that Marvel got the rights back that pisses me off. It's the fact that so many stupid, screwed-up decisions were made that this ultimately had to happen in order to do this.
I will agree with you on one thing, John. It does feel like by immediately saying Mark Webb is going to have nothing to do with these next 2 movies, you're almost trying to scapegoat him that everything wrong that people don't like about Amazing Spider-Man 2, that was all him, not us.
Exactly. And Mark Webb, and I'll say this right now. When Andrew Garfield came out in that interview and said, the studio basically screwed this movie up, even though that was not the smartest move for him to make, he wasn't wrong. He was never wrong. It was Mark had a very intimate, closer vision for this franchise than what ASM2 actually turned out to be, because of the fact that it was turned into a 2.5-hour trailer for upcoming franchises, or for upcoming films. Now, I love Amazing Spider-Man 2. I love Amazing Spider-Man 2. I think it's a fantastic movie. I'm not going to deny that there are definite signs that it was a trailer for upcoming films that they wanted to do.
Especially that ending. Oh, is there an exact number you want for your evil team, just as we show all the Sinister Six costumes in the comic book? It was like...
He wants to keep it small.
It was like, just so bad, how... I'm on your side, too. I liked Amazing Spider-Man 2. But I felt like when I first heard the movie idea that, it's going to have Mary Jane in it, it's going to introduce more of the Osborn with Harry, and you're going to have more of that kind of going on, and then you're going to have Electro as a villain. I felt like, okay, after Amazing Spider-Man 1, they're moving past the parents subplot from what I understand from what I've been hearing, reports of the day. They're going to have that be the cold open, being showing them die, and then it's going to slowly kind of phase out the parent storyline until probably the third movie. And the second movie we can focus on him and Electro. That's what I always thought. And then you see the trailer, and it's like he's clicking on a button that says Venom, and then you got a shot of 6 doors opening up with Electro and tentacles and vulture wings, and then you have a shot of this guy, and you have a shot of that guy, and then you got Rhino, and then you got Harry becoming the Green Goblin, and then that's when I started going, okay, this is starting to turn into like Batman and Robin.
Well, I don't think I'm gonna just interject here. I don't think the problem with Amazing 2, my problem with Amazing 2, is that it's quote unquote a trailer for future movies. I think the problem with it is crap like friggin' Max Dillon before he got transformed in Dr. Kafka. Like, I don't know how that's stuff.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know.
They could have, like I think I said this before in the podcast, they could have saved the Dr. Kafka mess. Which I don't think some fans, how they bitched about it, like they gave her a penis and all this stuff. I think some of that is a slight overreaction because we had characters change races and genders and stuff like that in adaptation.
No, it's not that it's not that it's Kafka. I don't care that they changed the character. Like, Dr. Kafka is a character that I don't really care about, so it wasn't that it was different from the comics. It was just like that scene was so stupid. Like, I don't understand who thought that was a good idea. Like, why didn't, I mean, Mark Webb was a great director and stuff, but I feel like someone on set should have been like, hey, maybe this scene is really stupid. Maybe we should cut this out or try to rewrite it or something. Like, I don't understand, like, who thought that was a good idea.
I felt like it would have been better since we saw the Doc Ock tentacles in the trailer. Okay, so in the back of every fan who saw those trailers' mind is there's going to be some nods to Doc Ock coming in a future movie. So you have this kind of pudgy scientist working for Oscorp with goggles and a German accent talking. And then I'm expecting, I'm Dr. Otto Octavius. Instead we get, I'm Dr. Kafka. I'm like, oh, fuck you.
Well, actually, I would have been angrier if it was Doc Ock because it would have been they ruined an actual, like, character that is important. Like, I'm actually, the only reason I'm not, like, more angry about that is because Kafka is such, like, a non-entity in a lot of the comics. Like, if that was actually Doc Ock, I would have been angrier because it would have, like, ruined a great character. But
I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant here, and I'm not addressing you specifically, Jan. I'm not addressing you at all. I'm really not addressing you at all. I'm addressing these stupid people I'm seeing on the freaking message boards right now. Because I'll be honest, some of the message board reaction to this has pissed me off these past couple of days, because maybe it's just how people are. But whenever something new comes out, they decide to shit all over the old stuff. There goes the family-friendly aspect of this podcast. There goes that out the window.
Well, I just said fuck you after they revealed the name Kafka. I mean, I think we went way past that, John.
Whenever something new comes out, they decide to shit all over the old stuff. And literally, whenever I hear arguments, oh, Kafka ruined this movie, I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy. But I failed to see how a 2-minute cameo in a movie ruins a 2.5-hour film. I'm really hesitating to see that. Just like I got into an argument at my local comic shop about this yesterday, actually. I've been getting into fights with people about this all week. Which is honestly rare for me.
John is going to go all like terrorists on everybody. I demand. I will not give Marvel. Marvel's going to like send the shipments of Renew Your Vows issues and everything, and then John's going to hijack the shipment and goes, I am not going to let this comic get released until you promise me that Mark Webb's directing Avengers 3 and that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, damn it, and then all of a sudden his demands are like start to basically become Amazing Spider-Man 3, and I want Dion Han back as the Harry Osborn in the reboots. I want a ghost Gwen Stacy clone, that way we can get Emma Stone back.
James, what he does is he switches minds with Peter or with Andrew Garfield and then makes Andrew Garfield go and renegotiate. He's like the superior Andrew Garfield.
If I had another middle finger, I'd be sticking it up too.
You're just saying that me and Jane are number one. Thank you, John.
Theoretically, since I was holding 2 up, does that mean both of you make number 2 and I'm number 1?
No, because one is you're pointing for me and the other one you're pointing for Jan. So you're saying we're both number 1. We're a tie.
All right.
High five.
I don't even know what I was talking about.
You're ranting about Kafka and how you think it's stupid that people think he ruined the whole movie.
Fighting comic book store people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
People in my comic shop were like, "Oh, Andrew Garfield sucked from the beginning because he rode a skateboard." Get bent. All right. It was 1 minute. It was 1 minute, people. I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend people, and I don't mean to throw personal insults around. But I cannot take anybody seriously when they are. You have to be trying to hate that movie when you complain about a 1 minute or 2 minute cameo to the point where you say it ruins the movie. I cannot take you seriously. I just can't. I'm sorry. All right.
I think I'm gonna you weren't talking about me. I'm just gonna say like for me, Kafka isn't the problem. Kafka is just sort of like a symptom of the problem, which is just that I feel like the second movie almost it felt like they didn't know what they wanted it to be, so it was just like kind of a mess. Like it was, some scenes are amazing, like the scene between Peter and Aunt May, and then some scenes are just like, like really like with Max Dillon before he becomes Electro and Kafka. Like I feel like Kafka is just kind of a weird. It just kind of is like a good example that I point to at kind of the strange tonal stuff, but I don't think. I mean, it's a decent. I don't think it ruins the movie or anything. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here.
Well, I got, what I think you're going on. What you're saying. I think I know what the problem was with Amazing Spider-Man 2, and that caused all the symptoms, like you said. And it's a three-word phrase. Too many cooks.
Yeah. Especially when two of the cooks are people who wrote Transformers. Like, I don't know why they can't get, like, Peter David or somebody to write a Spider-Man movie. That'd be awesome. They have to get, like...
the comic book guys for these kind of things. If you notice, I don't think any movies are written by comic fans.
Remember the one time they got a comic book writer to write a comic book movie? Yeah, the Avengers happened.
And
you remember when they got JMS to... You remember when they used JMS on Thor? Yeah, Thor happened. That was a good movie.
Yeah, and it was a good movie.
And
it wasn't a great movie, but it was a good movie.
Look at all the DC shows, like Smallville,
The Flash,
Flash, Green Arrow.
The Flash.
You read their credits? Mark Ewenhein's in the credits for those shows.
Jeff Johns,
Mark Waid, Brian Miller. They are all, comic book people who are writing the TV version because they get the characters.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to get now with Spider-Man. You're going to get people who get the character, which I say is kind of ironic because I had seen somebody bring this up on another message board I go on to, what I find really hilarious, that somebody goes, yeah, finally Spider-Man's going to be done by Marvel. People who know exactly what to do with the character and make him so great. And then, like, he posted photos of, like, One More Day and the clone and
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse and Superior. I couldn't think of the name of Superior for a second. I kept on wanting to say Sinister Spider-Man, but no, Superior
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
that's actually pretty. Wasn't Sinister Spider-Man Matt Gargan?
Whatever. But they posted, those images, and they're like, yeah, because Marvel has never got Spider-Man wrong. And then you post those images and it goes, oh, fuck.
Yes, and it's just, I really don't think. Just moving off of this topic right now, because I think we've covered that. Basically, Mark Webb and Andrew Garfield were never the problem with Sony.
No,
never the problem.
Never.
And it was just
the problem was too many cooks.
It was a problem when Sony got so desperate to milk this franchise and brand for everything they could. That's when it became a mess and they had to do this. That's what pisses me off, is that Mark and Andrew got screwed over bad decisions. I'm not going to personally insult the people who made those decisions. They were thinking from a business standpoint. That can lead to irrational decisions. I'm not going to personally insult them.
Well, think about it. Well, sorry, John, I'm just interrupting you.
Mark and Andrew got screwed. That's a big problem I have with this.
John, I see your point. But going on to the thing about what you said and about what Jan said about how all the problems with from everybody wanting their thing. Think about it. The problems that happened with Amazing Spider-Man 2 should have been obvious to anybody who had creative control in that movie, because the last 2 times those things happened in a comic book movie where you had too many cooks, where you had production coming in with ideas, the toy makers coming in with ideas, other writers, the director, the actors, when everybody wants their thing in this movie, you end up with crap. The other 2 times that has happened in the history of comic book movies, Spider-Man 3 and Batman and Robin.
And I think it's nowhere near as bad as those 2 movies, but I think the problem is kind of similar in my personal opinion.
It's like you're never going to be... if you're following that formula of how to make a superhero movie, you're going to end up with at least a not-so-good movie.
Or at least a flawed movie.
And moving off of that topic right there, a new live-action Spider-Man is scheduled for 2017. And basically, pretty much the details of it right here. Spider-Man solo movie, co-produced by Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal, release date July 28, 2017, and we don't know anything else about the film. Basically, except Sony is distributing it and technically owns that movie, and Marvel is going to have some collaborative, creative control, input, whatever. Thoughts on this next solo Spider-Man movie, and then we'll get into a little bit more of the casting of the main protagonist as we move along.
I have no thoughts. There's nothing to like. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. There's like no. I mean, I have no thoughts. Like, hopefully it doesn't suck. That's my only thought. I mean, we don't know. We know maybe a few potential people. I heard some like plot. Like a few people saying like, oh, Marvel's considering these villains, but it's not official. I mean, we don't know. We are pretty much in the dark, and my thoughts are hopefully it doesn't suck. Like, that's it.
Like the rumors that I'm hearing, I think they're the same ones Jan are hearing. I think they can end up being good. I mean, we were hearing that, what they might do is the post-end credit scene is, Peter Parker, high school student, walking around a science laboratory for whatever reason, gets bit by the spider, and that's how the end credits scene ends. And then 2017, you got Spider-Man spin-off movie where it takes place right after the spider bite. That way you get the origin out of the way, and you can just go right into this new reboots as being a story, and you don't have to go for the whole bit by a spider. With great power comes great responsibility. You already got that all done with in Captain America or whatever.
And I'll say it right now. I'll say it. I feel like I'm using this phrase a lot, but I'll say it right now. I don't want another origin movie. The origin has been beaten into the ground. Everyone knows where Spider-Man came from. If you do not know where Spider-Man came from, ask the guy sitting next to you in the theater, because I'm not going to spend an hour on it. We don't need to at this point.
I think I don't want an origin. Sorry.
I think you got to still tell the origin, but there's different ways you can do it. Just focusing your whole time on the movie on it, because you are reintroducing Spider-Man to this new universe. So it is a cool idea to see, how did this Spider-Man get bit by the spider? How did this Spider-Man learn Uncle Ben's lesson? How did this Spider-Man, Uncle Ben get shot and killed? That can be interesting, but do it kind of like what they did with Batman '89, where it's a standalone movie where you have flashbacks to, what happened. Or maybe a one-off line where Peter says, ever since I was at Oscorp that day and I got bit by the spider, and Uncle Ben taught me power and responsibility. There's a way where you can get across the origin, or do what Hulk did, where the whole opening credit scene is the origin, so that way you can cut right away to the movie.
Or you could do it like the Ultimate Spider-Man video game.
Well, my idea is like James, and I'm going to go back to the Flash again, and Jan likes the Flash. If you didn't understand that before, I don't know, like if you haven't been paying attention, but the Flash does like this thing, and Arrow does it too, and Gotham kind of has it, where like at the beginning of each episode they do like before the previously on segment they do like a thing where it just like kind of gives you the basic premise of the show.
My name is Oliver Queen. I returned from an island, and I'm gonna avenge the city for my father. Previously on Arrow, like that.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, I think that'd be kind of interesting. Like, just do that before. Like, okay, for people who for some reason don't know Spider-Man's origin, here's the thing, and then you know.
Power Rangers has been doing that too for the last few years. They'll be like, years ago in Japan, ancient samurai warriors defeated evil monsters using power symbols passed down from parent to child. But now the ancient evil from Japan has returned to conquer Earth. Luckily, the Power Rangers stand in their way, and then they begin the episode. Like, they've been doing that even the last few years of Power Rangers. Even like that's a kind of common thing that's going on with superhero shows.
So I think opening a Spider-Man movie with something like that would be kind of like a good way to, you know, just okay, so explain the origin, but not do it. And even if we don't, hopefully we don't do an origin, but I do want to see a young Spider-Man again. Like, I want to see really young Spider-Man. Like, in, you know, I feel like the high school thing has been kind of skimmed over in both franchises so far. Like, we got a whole movie in high school, but we didn't like really explore Peter's like relationship with other his like fellow classmates
in ASM.
What?
There was like 5 scenes. The beginning, like of that shot with Flash Thompson with the basketball game, him asking Gwen out on the date, the shot of him the day after Uncle Ben gets shot, and then the final scene where he's walking around the school moping and depressed because of the events of the movie. That's like the 5.
And the fight in the high school. There was the big fight in the high school.
Oh yeah, the fight with Lizard.
Yeah, but like we didn't really. Sorry.
I'll be honest. I feel like the high school thing has been beaten into the ground as well.
I disagree almost 100%.
Well, that's why I find it funny, because so many people online are like, oh, even though the rumors say Marvel wants high school Peter Parker again, and they want to cast a really young teen heartthrob to be Peter Parker because, oh, they want to go the teen demographic, and they want him to be the teenage high school Spider-Man again. And some people are like, no, they don't. They're bringing him in here to make him an adult in his 30s to do Civil War and all this stuff. They're not going to make him a kid. It's like, guys, these are the people who are still adamant that Spider-Man needs to be at least college age. You know, hence why they did One More Day. They were like, Spider-Man needs to be college age. Spider-Man needs to be a teenager. Spider-Man. They're not going to hire some 30-year-old actor people to play him as a mature Spider-Man.
It's kind of why they got rid of Andrew, because he is 31, and by the time this movie comes out, he'll be what, 33?
I guarantee if they wanted what you think is going to happen with this reboot, if they wanted a 30-year-old Spider-Man, they would be knocking right now on either Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield's door. Because then they want teenage Peter. They want a young kid to be the new Peter Parker. Going to Midtown High, getting beat up by Flash Thompson, can't get the girl, goes home to his doting aunt and his uncle. Uncle gets shot, teenager learns power and responsibility. That's what they want.
I don't think the problem, I think we're thinking of Marvel, we're thinking as though it's the same people making the movies and doing the comics. Keep in mind that, it's not going to be Joe Quesada, and it's going to be more like the Marvel movie studio, not Marvel Comics in general. So, we won't that's not why I'm not worried, because it's not like Jeff Loeb or Joe Quesada are going to be involved in the movies like they are in, some of the other things. So I think, I still want him young. I want a young Spider-Man because I think that's the most interesting Spider-Man. Not even that it's the most interesting. I feel like Tobey Maguire was a mostly semi-adult Spider-Man. He was in college for most of those movies, and Andrew Garfield, he was in high school for one movie, but the high school aspect wasn't explored all that much. Where I feel like doing something kind of like Spectacular Spider-Man did, where you really see the day-to-day basis of what being a high school student and a superhero was like, I think would be really interesting. We didn't really see that in Amazing Spider-Man 1 that much. We maybe a little bit, but we didn't see it really at all in the Sam Raimi movies. So I feel like seeing that dynamic would be really interesting for me. So that's.
And what I also find funny is that the people that are complaining online about this reboot and the recasting of Spider-Man, if they got general beef like John feels about Andrew Garfield and why he should stay, that's one thing. But for the people who are complaining about that means that counting Nicholas Hammond, this will be the 4th Spider-Man, live-action Spider-Man, and they don't have many actors. Okay, Tobey played him in 3 movies. Andrew played him in 2. Batman, you had Adam West, Michael Keaton for 2 movies, Val Kilmer, George Clooney for 1 movie, then a trilogy with Christian Bale, and now Ben Affleck. That's 7 guys that play Batman, not including animated series. That's not counting commercials. That's not counting video games. That's not counting 40 serials, even. So stop complaining that, oh my god, 4 new actors playing Spider-Man is somehow going to ruin the character. It's not.
How many people have played Superman?
Yeah, exactly. It's like nobody's bitching if DC came out today and say, oh, we're going to do another Superman show, and not Supergirl, but another actual Superman show, and we're casting blah, 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 blah from this series as Clark Kent and Superman.
Which, just a side note,
Six by my count, not including...
Just a side note, the fact that Melissa Benoist, or however you pronounce her last name, was cast as Supergirl might get me to watch that show.
Dude, why don't you watch all those shows? You're doing yourself a disservice not watching some of that.
It probably won't, because given the fact that Grant Gustin is the Flash and I still don't watch that, probably means I won't watch Supergirl just because it's Melissa Benoist, which means that Glee actors being superheroes doesn't necessarily have the biggest effect on me. But
you're like one of the only nerds that doesn't watch The Flash, right?
But the moment the Flash dons a Dalton blazer, you will get me to watch that shit.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Well, he's saying on there. I mean, that's kind of a nod to Glee.
Okay, unless the Warblers are behind him.
Skyler, who was also on Glee, who played the Gold Power Ranger, they had him do a singing episode just because, well, people recognized him from Glee. He was a background singer, but they recognized him from Glee, so we had him singing an episode of Power Rangers.
He was like Warbler number 2. That character didn't even get a name, but most Warblers didn't get names.
And my sister loves that show. I don't know anybody's name from it.
So we were talking about some films that are coming out.
I will say though quickly, I have been rewatching the first season of Arrow, and I gotta say the first season is one of the best first seasons I've ever seen of a TV series.
I would argue that The Flash has been better, but I think Arrow was a really good first season. I agree.
Well, Flash isn't over yet, so I'm not going to count Flash until the whole first season.
But I think like The Flash, like just so far, like comparing the first 15 episodes, and we're not even. I'm sorry, we're not. Let's just get back to Spider-Man. This is a discussion for later.
I was just thinking, like, the reason I think the high school thing has been beaten into the ground, it's not so much because of the movies. Just look at the past 15 years. Look at the insistence on this freaking high school thing. Ultimate Spider-Man, the comic book, and the cartoon. The first Raimi movie, kind of. Spectacular cartoon. The Amazing film. Freaking Learning to Crawl, that miniseries from last year. Look at all this.
Season 1, the comic I wrote for review.
Season 1, the comic.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1 wasn't. Chapter 1, I guess, yeah.
I thought Chapter 1 was in 99.
Yeah, Chapter 1's in 99. It was like a year before Ultimate.
It's just like, I'm so sick of this freaking high school angle. I'm sorry. It's like, the high school thing has never been what's made Spider-Man the most interesting character to me. And really, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but just when I see Spider-Man in high school, I think, okay, he's in high school. That's all I think. I don't necessarily think, oh, that's me because I'm in high school. Because, well, 1, in 6 months, I'm not going to be able to think that anymore. And
I was in high school when Ultimate Spider-Man was in its prime, and I never thought, wow, I'm reading a teenage Peter Parker. I can relate to him. No. I never thought.
You know what? You know why I can relate to that character? Because he's human. Because he makes mistakes. Because in a modest sense of the word, he is a normal guy. Now, but the moment I say that, Marvel's going to say, oh, that means he has to have, he can't find a place to live. He has no job. He has to live with his Aunt May. No, that's bullshit, and you know it.
It's like, he wasn't even like that in the 60s. Do you remember that issue where John Romita and Stan Lee had Peter Parker have whole months where he was kicked out of college, couldn't get a job, had everybody hate him, including Gwen Stacy? Everybody hated him. He had no job. His aunt wouldn't let him move back in with him, and he was homeless. You remember when John Romita used to write that stuff? That's the Spider-Man I remember from the 70s when I was a kid. No.
Hey, do you remember when Howard Mackey wrote Spider-Man as a homeless guy in his reboot?
I try not to.
Yeah, that was no offense, Mackey. You did some good stuff before the reboot.
He was the mastermind behind the whole Clone Saga idea. So.
I said some, not all.
But yeah.
I think the high school thing. I don't know.
Yeah, the
I,
only thing about the
I
high
still,
school. Oh, go, Jan. I'll let you go first.
sorry. I don't know. Maybe it's because I like Smallville so much, but just like the high school setting, I think is really fascinating, like interesting. And I don't know. I think there's still stories to be told with high school. I mean, I'm not gonna be disappointed if it's not in high school. Like that's not, as John said, it's not. He's human. Like we like Spider-Man because he's human. So, um, that's not gonna kill it for me or anything. But
I'll give Smallville a pass for the whole high school teenager angle because you don't hear DC every 5 seconds going, Superman was best when he was Superboy back in Smallville.
yeah,
That's the only way.
no one says that.
That's the true essence of Superman was back when he was Superboy in Smallville in the 50s with Mom and Paul Kent constantly making him pies and him meeting the Legion. No, they don't say that stuff. So when you get a show that's the prequel telling his teenage years, that's fresh. That's new. That's something. That's something that most Superman things gloss over. Like, oh, here's a shot of him in Smallville. Now we're moving on to Superman. It's like, no, they're gonna focus on him growing up there. Okay, that's fresh. That's new. Marvel's like, hey, 1996. Hey, we're gonna give you guys a fresh new Spider-Man title. It's called Untold Tales, which is a great comic book. I'm not bashing Untold Tales. 2 years later, we're giving you Chapter 1. It's teenage high school Peter Parker, the way you wanted him. 1 year later, here's Ultimate Spider-Man. It's teenage Peter Parker like you wanted. 2 years later, here's Spider-Man 1. Here's The Amazing Spider-Man. Here's Miles Morales. Here's One More Day. Teenage Spider-Man. Teenage Spider-Man. We want you to know that Peter was a teenager once.
It's just,
I mean,
it's beaten into, it's diluted so far. It's just, it's lost all potency. And
I personally, I understand what you guys are saying. I don't actually count One More Day as a high school thing because it's actually not high school. He was just.
We know. You can feel younger to the young hip crowd.
No, I know. I don't like the high school angle because it's a young hip crowd. I just like it because I think maybe I can kind of relate to it a little bit, but just the idea of having to manage homework and classes and everything with the superhero life and how that would affect your social standing. I think there's interesting places to go that we haven't seen on film. We've seen it in cartoons and movies, but we have to take in mind these movies aren't just made for us; they're made for the general audience. And I think that for the general audience, there's high school Spider-Man could still be really fresh and exciting.
And they're talking about they as we've obviously alluded to, they're casting a younger Spider-Man. Some names are already being thrown around. I've heard Dylan O'Brien. Apparently
That's
he was
the big one that I've been hearing everybody saying that
Dylan O'Brien's the one.
They are going to cast.
Dylan O'Brien's the one I want to see. I don't know if you guys have seen Maze Runner, but he was the main character in that movie.
I've not seen.
I didn't see the movie, but from people I know who did see the movie, who are following the whole Sony Spider-Man situation ever since Amazing Spider-Man 2 bombed in the box office, I know that they said if Andrew was ever replaced or they did another reboot or he ever went to Marvel, the contract, they kept on saying that that's who we want.
Well, he looks just like Peter Parker. He sounds a lot like Josh Keaton.
And you can pull off teenage Peter. You can pull off the look. He looks like a teenager. I can believe Andrew is a high schooler in Amazing Spider-Man 1 more than I did in Amazing Spider-Man 2 on that graduation scene. It's like, what is this college graduation after 8 years of college to get his doctorate?
Jan, who do you want to be Spider-Man? And you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, so this is a joke. My actual real contender would be Grant Gustin. That's never going to happen because he's already on the Flash and probably wouldn't want to be tied down to two huge franchises. And
Ryan
I think
is both Deadpool and Green Lantern. So,
but not at once. Doing the Flash show, the Flash is a show that's going to last a long time because it has amazing ratings. So that when this Spider-Man movie theoretically comes out, the Flash would probably still be on. So I think doing two superhero things at once would probably be really tiring. And I think he'd probably want to do something new and interesting in his career since Flash and it'd be a pretty kind of a similar experience doing Spider-Man and the Flash. So he's not going to get cast and it's not going to happen. But it's just in a perfect world where the Flash, or actually a world where the Flash didn't happen wouldn't be a perfect world. But if the Flash wasn't around, Grant Gustin would be my number one choice. But since he's taken Dylan O'Brien is the person I've kind of settled with is like of the likely candidates. He's the one I want to see the most because he has the look, he has the sound, and he has the chops. So
I don't know any actors who could play Peter Parker. I'm not bashing any actors. I don't follow Hollywood actors that much. I don't have any ideas as to who could play the new Peter Parker. This is all I'm hoping for is the right person for the role. Someone who can fit, who can manage the life of Peter Parker, the life of Spider-Man, and make it believable, both aspects. All right.
I agree with you there, John. It's like I really feel like Marvel and Marvel and Sony in 2002 hit lightning in a bottle when they got Tobey, because Tobey, if you were looking for an actor who was the Ditko Stanley Romita nerdy Peter Parker, that was Tobey in 2002. Not Tobey nowadays, but Tobey 2002 was definitely that Peter Parker that they wanted for that movie series. Where now I see actors, and it's like, maybe I can see this guy playing Spider-Man, but it's like it's not anything where if he does play the character, or if he doesn't play the character, I don't go, oh, they missed out on a great actor to play him. It's like, yeah, he could probably pull it off, but then again, I never really seen him do a superhero thing, or I never really seen him do anything. It's like, so I don't really know what to judge this guy on. Because honestly, if you ask me that question, who I think should be the Spider-Man of the new movie, I'll say just anybody who can make me, when I see the movie, believe that I'm watching both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Not just Andrew playing a good Spider-Man and an okay Peter Parker, and Tobey playing a great Peter and an okay Spider-Man.
I mean, that's really all I want, is someone who can pull off both roles. I mean, personally, I believe Andrew did both magnificently. Tobey had his good Peter Parker moments, his Spider-Man moments. I think
it had most to do with the writing. I think if they would have wrote in a few more jokes for Spider-Man in that trilogy, people wouldn't be complaining about Tobey not feeling like Spider-Man.
Well, like, if you play the movie games, like where Tobey did the voice for Spider-Man, like, even though it's just his voice, like, I think he did a good job with, like, delivering the one-liners. Like, I think if he were given more jokes, he would have been perfect. I just think his problem was the writing.
I still love that one with the Shocker where he's like, "Who are you, Quilt Man?" The cushion.
Yeah.
Or when he's arguing with the narrator, because the narrator goes out to make a sandwich, and he goes Deadpool and breaks the fourth wall about it. Like, well, how can you leave me to go make a sandwich? Like,
and he's like, I get paid per line.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Tobey's Spider-Man. I was just about to say it. A lot of it did come down to the writing, because I did personally like the line in Spider-Man 2. "You're getting on my nerves." I have an act for that.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was pretty funny.
And I like the line in the scene that I think out of that whole trilogy that was the most Spider-Man moment is when after the Goblin blows up Jonah's office, and he's all like, "Tell me where Spider-Man is. Who's the photographer who takes his photos?" And then Spider-Man shows up and he goes, "Settle down, tough guy." And then Jonah just goes, "Spider-Man, I knew you two were in this together." And then he webs his mouth and he goes, "Hey, shut up, kiddo. Let mom and dad talk for a little while." That whole 1 minute scene with Jonah immediately jumping to the conclusions that Spider-Man's working with the Goblin, with Spider-Man web slinging with that little quip about let mom and dad talk for a little while, that to me was Spider-Man. That is literally something you can see happening in the comic books come to life.
That scene was very good. I will never deny that. That scene was very good. And I do still say the Raimi movies were solid Spider-Man movies. I did enjoy the Raimi movies. I enjoyed the Raimi movies a lot.
The first two.
I prefer the Amazing franchise, and I mean, I'm going to say this right now. I'm fully aware of the fact that all of my complaints with this could very well, I could very well be looking for my foot in the back of my throat in 3 years when these Marvel movies blow me away. I'm fully aware that possibility is out there.
For all you know, when this movie comes out, when he appears in whatever the 2016 podcast in America, but they haven't announced what the movie is in 2016 yet, but odds are if you look at the Marvel schedule 2016, it's either that or Star Wars, and I really doubt they're going to put Spider-Man in Star Wars, Marvel, so...
Or Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Well, Doctor Strange, I can see, some people say, because then you got that Ditko connection that Spider-Man and Doctor Strange are in the same movie, but yet it feels really weird. Why would Doctor Strange be with Peter Parker in a movie? Where Captain America in the Civil War storyline, where Spider-Man was the third hero, where Iron Man and Cap were the main characters, but Spider-Man was a close number 3, it makes more than enough sense to put him in the Civil War movie.
I guess moving off of the younger Spider-Man being cast, there is actually a lot of talk about um, the possibility of a big screen Spider-Man being Miles Morales and not Peter Parker. Does anyone think this is actually going to happen?
No,
No.
no, 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 no. And I'm not saying that.
Nothing against.
And I noticed that a few people who said this online, the people who have said that they don't want Miles, this ain't racism. I don't give a crap if Miles is black, white, Asian, gay, male, female, whatever. He could be an alien from the planet Mars, for all I care. But if you're reintroducing Spider-Man, the first time ever in the Marvel Universe, where he's teaming up with Cap, Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, and you name it, it's Peter. I don't care if you think that the character ran its course. I don't care if you think that's too much of an obvious rod thing to say. I don't care. If this was, you making Miles for like the next reboot movie series, okay, fine. Sony rebooted this franchise again, and they're focusing on Miles as Spider-Man for the reboot. I can live with that. But if you're introducing Spider-Man to the MCU with all the other heroes, it has to be Peter first. And I say first. They can do Miles later, but Peter Parker needs to be the first Spider-Man spinning webs.
Exactly.
I think Miles Morales is a character that works because of the context of the way he was introduced. He was introduced in a world specifically where Peter Parker died fighting Green Goblin. And
it's a world where they need another Spider-Man, where the MCU doesn't.
And so there's that. And then I just feel like, again, like you said, I think Peter Parker deserves to be the on-screen Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think, in my opinion, even though I have no disrespect towards Miles Morales as a character or his fans, but for me, like, Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Like, it's not like Green Lantern where there's a few different, it's Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Like, I don't think there's really any contest of, like, who the better Spider-Man is or, other characters. Like, it's Peter Parker or it's not Spider-Man for me, So I
fully admit I'm the same way. I fully admit that.
Like, I could care less about.
I got that out of the way because, like, I would be on YouTube comments and people are talking about, and they go, well, maybe they'll put Miles, because remember, Rod's not a focus on this movie, so maybe they'll put Miles in this, and I'd be putting on YouTube comments, go, guys, you got one, it needs to be Peter because you're introducing Spider-Man to the MCU. It's not Ben Reilly, it's not Spock with Otto in his body, it's not going to be Miles, it needs to be Peter. And secondly, the general public is going to want to see Spider-Man, and all they know is Peter. They don't know who Miles is. They're going to sit there in the movie theater thinking, wow, who's this kid? Miles Morales. Where's Spider-Man? Where's Spider-Man? Oh, he gets bit by the Spider-Man, he becomes Spider-Man. Where's Peter? And people go, well, and then I see people say, oh, well, that's just you being racist, or, oh, you're saying that the general public is too dumb to see this origin story of another Spider-Man.
That's crap.
I don't know who this guy is. And it's like, it's crap, guys. That's crap. Because the audience doesn't know Miles. You're looking at it from a comic book fan who knows who Miles is. Even if you didn't read an issue of Ultimate, you know who Miles Morales is. My little sister, who loves Spider-Man, but all her Spider-Man has been Tobey and Andrew and maybe a few of the cartoons I used to watch when we were growing up. She doesn't know who Miles is. She doesn't know who Ben Reilly is. She doesn't know who Kane is. She doesn't know who Spider-Woman is. She doesn't know who all these other Spider-Man-like characters are. They only know and want Peter Parker.
Guys, just to, like, lighten the mood, something that'll make you, like, immediately laugh. Think of Tobey Maguire playing Kane.
I can't see it. If they would
I can't see that at all.
That sounds hilarious.
Cast him other actors like Kane and say it's the clone degeneration and made him look nothing like Peter. Like, literally, if they would have done, like, Amazing Spider-Man, I mean, not Amazing, but, like, the Spider-Man 4, it's the Clone Saga, cast somebody else to play Kane, and then write off his different looks as being because of the clone degeneration. Just don't have Tobey, because he could not pull off Kane. Ben, I can see him portraying a little bit if he's trying to be the cooler Peter Parker, but the badass, dark, I'm going to kill you Peter Parker that is Kane, he wouldn't be able to pull off.
We saw him try to play that. It was called Spider-Man 3. We'll leave it at that.
No. The final topic I want to bring up on this show, because it's getting for anyone who doesn't know, we record these live, and it's almost 11:30 my time, and I've been up since 7 o'clock this morning, so I'm getting kind of tired. But The final topic we need to discuss is Spider-Man in team-up movies, whether it's with one hero, whether it's with the Avengers. This is a problem for me, and let me talk about it right now. When I look at history, and I'm not just talking about comics, I'm talking about animation, I'm talking about video games, I'm talking about all this stuff. Whenever a good majority of the time, when I see Spider-Man in a team situation, what is he relegated to?
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I lost internet for a little bit. I'm back.
When I see Spider-Man in this team situation, I find a good majority of the time he is relegated to the guy in the background who ends up spouting off a bad joke every once in a while.
Oh, you mean you're talking about Grant? Not Grant Morrison. God, I can't think of it right now. Who's the guy who wrote New Avengers?
Bendis?
Yeah, Brian Michael Bendis. Thank you.
Oh, did we lose James again?
Probably.
Yeah, I think we lost James again. When Bendis writes, when
There's two of them.
yeah, now there's two James.
That's funny.
Wonder what that's about. I don't know.
Look at his avatar. Peter Parker's so happy.
Sorry, since I came back for some reason, my computer decided, hey, you didn't do the terms of agreement.
Yeah. We just love the fact. We love the fact that your avatar is the Ramos covered ASM 3x1.
Because I didn't. This was like literally from last year when they announced that Peter was coming back. I would just change the avatar because I just been lazy and been like, well, who cares?
Yeah.
But anyways, what I was trying to make the point about is the Bendis thing. For a guy who got Spider-Man to his core really well in Ultimate, I don't know how he fucked it up so badly with New Avengers. Like, he even got Spider-Man's villains wrong, like Carnage, by writing him as Ultimate Carnage.
Who was the one who wrote Norman Osborn turning into the big goblin in the tighty whities? Was that Bendis?
I want to say that was Bendis because I was like his way of saying, see, I put my Ultimate Goblin, who's the big, gigantic, hulking monster in it. Because literally, like when you read those New Avengers, and I love Bendis' New Avengers run, not for what he did with Peter. I think he really messed up and screwed up Peter Parker with it. But with everything else from, lead up to Civil War, the first few arcs, the post-Civil War, I thought Dark Reign, that era was really great, how the team was like literally at their wits' end. They're wanted because of the Superheroes Restoration Act. Osborn's running the world. As far as they know, Iron Man, Cap, and Thor are dead. It's like, and then you got this ragtag team of Avengers where half of them want to go kill Norman, and the other half of them are like, there's nothing we can do. And I felt like that was a really great arc. And you even had Peter being the voice of reason going, I'm his greatest enemy. He killed my girlfriend. He caused the Clone Saga. And I don't want to kill the guy because that does not make me better than him. And you got that kind of really great, where he was, the voice of reason, Spider-Man in that arc. Until you get to the end with Siege, where they just have him punch Norman one time, lols. Yeah, his greatest enemy of all time, and he gets one punch in.
And it's just like, we talk about the Bendis New Avengers stuff.
I remember seeing an interview later with Bendis did. I think he did it with, I don't want to say he did it with Marvel, but I think it was with like Wizard or something or some website, where he goes, well, that's because we wanted to move up Norman from he was no longer a Spider-Man villain. Because a lot of the great Avenger villains started out as Captain America or Thor or Iron Man villains. And we wanted to move Norman from he was no longer a Spider-Man villain. He was now a level up. He was now an Avenger villain. Basically saying Peter Parker is beneath him now. Which,
Yeah.
sorry, no, it's not Norman. Because even in other characters, when they were writing Dark Reign and Siege ties in with Norman's and the Dark Avengers, anything that Bendis didn't write, they constantly had Norman's plan being as Spider-Man. Basically, if you read Captain America, if you read Iron Man, if you read Spider-Man, if you read every other Marvel title at the time of Dark Reign, it was basically outright saying that Norman's master plan to get the Superhuman Restoration Act was just to find out once again who the fuck Spider-Man is after one more day erased everybody's minds. That was it. He wanted to know Spider-Man's identity again. He thought that was the easiest way if you read those other comics.
Well, and one thing that I think is really funny is that even though, I mean, we can all say, Dan Slott's run has had its flaws, and I don't want to rant about Dan Slott anymore. I feel like I've done that too much already. But Well, one thing I really appreciated about Superior was that he made Norman Osborn the Spider-Man villain again. So thank you, Dan Slott, for making Norman Osborn the Spider-Man villain again.
And we talk about Bendis' new Avengers run as mishandling Spider-Man in a team situation. But even when I look back at history, the 90s show, as much as I love the 90s show, look at that Six Forgotten Warriors arc. Look at
the Carnage episode.
Look at the Six Forgotten Warriors arc where he teams up with those American warriors. How many times did they have to save his ass from the Insidious Six in that episode?
Or the freaking Carnage episode where it took Spider-Man and Iron Man to fight Carnage.
Not even that, guys. Look at Stan Lee. If you go back to those, if you open up your Essentials or your Masterworks or your Marvel Unlimited, wherever you go to read your back issues, if you read those, Spider-Man, whenever he teams up with another hero in Spider-Man's book, you know, you get the quips, you get the he's not really first working with Daredevil or the Avengers or, you know, Hulk, whoever's in his book, team up with him. But at the ending, or the Fantastic Four, they're kind of getting on each other's nerves. But it's okay, it's laughed off. But then when you would read like him teaming up with Ant-Man and Tales of the Astonished, or when he would team up in the Fantastic Four book, or in Avengers, or in X-Men, they made him out like Peter Parker was scum. Like all he did was joke, and he made fun of the other heroes. They didn't know if he was evil because what the Bugle said. Like even Stan Lee would write Spider-Man in team-up books, and he would have to make sure that, oh, Peter's not a team player.
And look at and to use another comic example, look at Secret Wars in the 1980s. Spider-Man did two things in that book. Well,
Kick the X-Men's butts.
He did three things in that book. He kicked the crap out of the X-Men. He got a new suit, and then he made jokes. And really, the only notable thing out of any of those things is that he got a new suit. He got a wardrobe change.
And that was a toy thing. That was to use a quote from I'm not good with names tonight. Schumacher from the Batman movies. Joel Schumacher. To use a quote from him from Batman and Robin. A lot of the decision making of Secret War was to make it more toyetic, meaning making it more so the toy can be adapted. That was all the black suit and putting Spider-Man in there. It was to sell a new Spider-Man toy that hasn't been sold yet. Well, we had this old idea that a fan wrote into us about giving him a black suit with a red spider, but we couldn't really come up with a storyline for it. Let's do that now. We don't want to credit said fan, so we're going to change that big red spider to being a white spider. Okay, there. We'll make that as the new toy.
So, I mean, just to sum up my problem with this, I just don't. Just looking at past history, there's no evidence here. There's no really a lot of good evidence here that Spider-Man will be treated correctly in a team situation, and I don't want to see that.
I think
to be fair,
if we see Spider-Man in an Avengers movie, they're going to go the Bendis route. He's going to show up, be in mask most of the movie, maybe a few scenes because you're paying the actor, you might as well show his face, kind of thing. So you might have a few on-mask scenes with him with the team or whatever, but Peter's just going to swing in there, make a few quips, do maybe a few punches, and maybe one heroic thing of saving somebody, and then be gone.
Well, I mean, to be completely fair, there's another, like, this might seem like a stretch, but there was a character, Quicksilver in the X-Men comics and he's a Marvel character in general, and I don't know about you, James. I know John probably has like little to no experience with Quicksilver, but Quicksilver is a terrible character in my opinion. He is a jerk. He's not really likable at all. His entire purpose is just as basically a Flash knockoff who worked for Magneto for a while and then worked for the Avengers and was a jerk to pretty much everyone involved. And then he's a character that is just crap in my opinion. And X-Men Days of Future Past made him one of the best characters in the whole movie. So I feel like maybe they could kind of Spider-Man has a history of not working well with teams. Maybe the movie can make it work. But I understand what you guys are saying. Spider-Man doesn't work well in team stuff a lot. But
and I'm not going and I don't think me and John are going the Batman route of if you put the whole Justice League against Batman wins in 5 seconds. We're not going that route. Wait, say no. Spider-Man shouldn't be on a team because either he's not good enough or because he can't get along with them and cooler than them. That's not the point we're trying to make. We're trying to say he doesn't really have a history of that. So if you're going for let's say they do have him in Infinity War or in Civil War, they're going to read those comics and they're going to see just what Bendis did or what Secret Wars did or what every other time Spider-Man has teamed up with the Avengers have done. where he shows up, swings in, makes a few jokes, fight the team for 1 second because of a misunderstanding, and then help them by fighting maybe one villain or maybe helping them take down one villain, and then swing away at the end. And they go, wow, we sure hope Spider-Man doesn't turn evil like the Bugle says.
Yeah, it's just like my problem isn't so much that like that it couldn't work. It's just my problem is the fact that no one seems to want to make it work in the script.
I have said this, Spider-Man, up until Superior Spider-Man, and his involvement with the Avengers, I felt like the best Spider-Man stories with him as a member of the New Avengers or the current Avengers after Siege and Dark Reign, his best stories were when it happened in Amazing, when the Avengers would come in to team up with him in his own book. When you would have JMS deal with, well, he's living here with Wolverine, so let's throw in the whole, she's a hot supermodel at Stark Tower, so everybody immediately assumes she's with Tony. Or, you know, Wolverine constantly calling her babe, or Jarvis's relationship with Aunt May. All those stuff mainly happened in Peter's book, where if you would read the New Avengers stuff that was happening at the same time, he was just quipping, I'm Spider-Man, I'm in the Avengers, quip, 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 joke, 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 web, web, web. Oh, my Aunt May just got shot, hence why I'm in the black suit, but I'm just going to be constantly making jokes about the Ghostbusters here, guys.
It's just,
Like, literally, that pissed me off is that I'm reading Back in Black at this time period, and I got 2 issues of Spider-Man. I bought 2 comic books that week. I bought an issue of Back in Black where Peter's all like, I'm going to kill the guy who shot Aunt May. I'm going to find him, and I'm going to rip his eyeballs out. I'm going to peel the flesh off his bones. I'm going to eat his insides, and I'm going to make his family watch as I do it. I'm going to make this guy torture him, and then he's going to make him wish he was dead, and I'm going to grant his wish. Then I would read the issue of New Avengers. Hey, guys, we stole the line from Ghostbusters. I'm Spider-Man. It's like, oh my god. And that was just one line in the issue. It's like you completely irrelevated all this, oh my god, Peter's in this really dark place. Because in the New Avengers, you had to make a Ghostbuster joke in the only line he has.
It's just, there's not a good track record of this, and to be honest, I don't have a lot of confidence that it'll change. So I'm not excited to see Spider-Man with the Avengers because, personally, I don't think they'll get him right. I don't think they'll treat the character as he deserves to be treated.
They'll go to the Bendis front. If they were thinking, okay, we're going to make this where it makes sense, Spider-Man's a really popular character, people are going to want him to see him do some heroic things, and we got the Avengers. People want to see this team up ever since Amazing Spider-Man 1 and the Avengers came out the same year and months apart from each other. People have said, we want these 2 guys in a movie together. These 2 entities, the team of the Avengers and Spider-Man. We want them to maybe Spider-Man join the team or at least teaming up with them. If they take a writer who can take that idea of Spider-Man teaming up with the Avengers and do it right, I'm okay with it. But if they just decide to take a Bendis issue of it and say, this is Spider-Man with the Avengers, put this on the big screen, it's going to fail.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I think we've touched on all the major points. Anyone else have any big things they want to talk about with this deal?
I just want to say one last time that nope, it's not racist to say that you don't want Miles in the movie. This is not the same as the people who were bitching about casting a black guy to play Johnny Storm. Okay, that was racist because you're judging the whole actor on being the character because of the color of his skin. Saying you don't want a certain character because you think that other character makes more sense is not racism, people. So just because people say, I don't want Miles in this movie, don't immediately go, you're a racist. No.
And I just want to say that, like, now that Michael B. Jordan has been cast as Johnny Storm, I almost can't think of a better actor to play that character. Like, I don't know, you guys probably haven't seen Chronicle, but that guy's perfect. Like, if nothing else in that movie works, I think he's going to be the best part of it. Michael B. Jordan.
The original Daredevil movie that came out around the same. I want to say this a year. It was either a year after Spider-Man, or it was the same year Spider-Man came out. That Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck in it. You know, when I was a kid, I liked it. But when you're a kid, you like it because it's just some superhero movie. But once you get older, you start to notice the flaws. But one of the things I've always said is Michael Clark Duncan played a fantastic Kingpin. And if you listen to the audio commentary and on the DVD special features, there were fan complaints even back then about people, how dare you cast Michael Duncan? It should be insert famous current white fat actor here. And they go, no, if you read the Kingpin in the comics, he's not fat, he's all muscle. So we wanted to find the best actor who we think could pull off, this big muscly guy who when you see him in the suit, you think he's just fat or overweight. But when you see him take off that suit, you realize that he's jacked. And they said Michael Clark Duncan, in the time period the movie was made, when you say somebody who's like that, he's the first thing that comes to mind.
Exactly. So, final thoughts on Sony Marvel deal, James?
I'm excited. Like I said, I was all like yes on all the websites. Like if you go on Crawl Space and CBR and Ranger Boards and all the websites I'm on, I'm doing the Daniel Bryan. Yes, yes, yes. Because it's more on soul because I want to see Spider-Man in the Marvel universe because I feel like that makes it now legit. Fantastic Four, I think, will be the final piece that makes it ultimately legit. Not ultimate saying it's the ultimate universe, but you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
it will be like, okay, now it feels like it's legitimate. You know, it's okay. They got Spidey. It's not just the Avenger universe. It's also got other heroes. Okay, I'm glad about it, and I feel like it can help Sony because now that you got Marvel helping them, you can filter out the really bad ideas with the whole, yeah, that's not really good. But what if you guys do it this way? Oh yeah, that's an even better idea. Sony doesn't have to just do everything, you know. Where it's like a Rod goes, well, I want Spider-Man to be this way, and then Tomac being like, well, I want Spider-Man to be that way. Let's compromise by just having both our versions of Peter in one movie. Oh, the movie bombed. Let's blame the director. It's his fault. It was his vision when it wasn't. You know, I feel like that you would have Sony being able to get, you know, their bad ideas filtered out by Marvel, and then only the good is left, and you'll get good Spider-Man movies and good Spider-Man stories. And then from Marvel's point of view, you've got Spidey in the cinematic universe. So I feel like that's a really great thing. I enjoy it. It sucks that Andrew's gone because if in a perfect world they would just say that Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2 can fit into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we're just going to pretend like those movies have always happened in this universe, and that ASM 3 takes place with an Avengers cameo. Like, but we don't live in a perfect world, and it sucks to see Andrew gone. But I look forward to see what now happens with Spider-Man, and what you can say is Phase 3 of him too. Like Phase 3 of the Avengers, well, this is Phase 3 of Spider-Man in movies, and I'm interested to see how this phase of Spider-Man works.
All right, final thoughts, Jen?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm kind of disappointed that we're not going to get a follow-up to Amazing Spider-Man 2 because I actually did like the ending of that movie, but I don't know. I think Marvel has had a pretty good track record, and the actors they're looking at could do a good job, and it's kind of exciting to have a fresh slate of a fresh slate again. So hopefully it doesn't suck.
All right.
I think it's gonna be different this time around. Just I have one more last thing. Where the last reboot, it was like after the train wreck that was Spider-Man 3, there was all those weird things where it's like, for all we knew, they were building up to Spider-Man 4, and then like during the holidays they go, oh, we're taking a holiday break to think of more new ideas. Don't worry, we're still making Spider-Man 4, but we're just going to take the holidays off so that we can give Sam Raimi and the writers some time to tweak the story idea to make sure it's a really, really great movie. And then come that January, reboot, Sam Raimi's gone. It was really weird. This feels more natural. It feels like you're fitting him into an established universe that fits, and you need it, and the other company just wants to do their own thing. They want, hey, we want to have this be a restart. We want this to be our Peter Parker, not your Peter Parker. Where I can live with that. Where the change between the Raimi trilogy and Mark Webb, I would say, was more messy than this.
All right, I want to give my final thoughts here because I feel like I've come off as a bit of a dick on this episode, and
No, you haven't. You've just been negative about it, but you're right.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. Like, I watched a video online today of somebody who was bitching about the last 3 or 4 Friday the 13th movies because they weren't the way he would have done them. You're not really
What was
doing
this person's
that.
name?
I'm upset because this actor's gone.
I'm not upset. I mean, yes, I am upset because Andrew's gone because he was the perfect freaking person to play Spider-Man.
Oh,
But
really,
here-
John? Because as long as I knew you, you haven't began a sentence without Andrew Garfield this, Andrew Garfield that, Andrew Garfield. Emma Stone dates Andrew Garfield. Like, almost everything you said is associated with the last series of movies. I mean, even to the point that you literally gave me nightmares about you quoting every goddamn Harry Osborn line in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
And I'll say it right now. My problem, I realize that Andrew was getting older. It is not my problem that the Amazing franchise is over. My problem is that the Amazing franchise got screwed for no real reason. I mean, I know there was a reason, but it was not a good reason. It was a bad reason because some bad decisions were made, and now Marvel has to come in and bail Sony out. And then the blame is shafted onto Mark and Andrew. That is my problem, and that's the bullshit.
Well, I won't really say that it's pushed on Andrew, because they're not like saying Andrew Garfield's the worst Spider-Man actor of all time. It's just saying we want young teenage Peter Parker.
Oh, I disagree with that. I've seen so much Andrew Garfield hate around the internet and around just people in general these past 3 days, and it has appalled me.
Well, I think I remember seeing like a tweet even by Dan Slott where he even said he thought Andrew was a great Spider-Man. So it's like even people from Marvel though weren't really like saying, "Oh, we hate Andrew, and if we had the character, we would have done it differently and cast somebody else." Like even people from Marvel were like acting like, "Hey, Andrew is great."
I'm not talking about like Marvel officials. I'm talking about like just. I mean, I don't mean to personally insult people on message boards, but I'm talking about freaking morons on message boards who were praising Andrew Garfield after the first movie, continued praising him after the second movie, and then all of a sudden this comes along and they're like, "Oh yeah, actually Andrew was crap." I was like, whatever. It's just I can't take anybody seriously when they decide to jump on that.
It's like the Batman effect, like right after Dark Knight, hit 2008, all of a sudden, every other super, like the stereotypical Batman fan. I like Batman. Obviously, Jan wearing a Batman shirt likes Batman. But there's a difference between Batman fans who like the character, who enjoy his history, enjoy the comics, the anime series, the movies, and the fanboys are like, if God came down from heaven and teamed up with Satan, their powers are not great enough to defeat Batman because he's Batman. Like those fans are basically the ones
that is the weirdest. Hold on a second. That was the weirdest. God and Satan versus
I saw somebody.
Batman.
Literally, I don't want to say it was on CBR for sure, because somebody will go back on the history of that site and we'll see that it's not there. I'm lying. But I remember being on some comic book forum or some place or a YouTube comment or something where somebody literally said to a question of who can beat Batman, and then people are throwing out names, and somebody even said God and the devil teaming up to take down Batman, and then all the comments like, they couldn't even do it because Batman's not religious. Batman doesn't believe in the afterlife. So Batman, just like that, will somehow mentally destroy them both. What?
That's terrifying.
What?
I just want to throw a few things out there.
Wait a second. If the devil and God show up, that proves they're real. But your reasoning for how Batman would kill them in 5 minutes is that he's an atheist, so he wouldn't believe them. So somehow it's like Freddy Krueger, where they fade away out of existence because nobody believes in them. If they show up, that means they're real people in this hypothetical battle. So Batman just going, "Holy crap, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in you." It's not going to make them magically disappear. It's not Freddy Krueger, people.
Batman admitting atheism in the Batman voice is the funniest thing ever.
Well, Batman has never been atheist. I mean, hell, the animated series got in trouble because they wanted him to say, "Oh my God," a few times. But yet, these people, he's an atheist because Batman only believes in Batman. Okay, does that look an egotistical? Batman only believes in Batman?
So, just my problems with this are that the Amazing franchise got shafted for no real reason.
It got shafted because the second movie underperformed.
It got shafted because people made stupid decisions. That's really what it was.
No, it was because the second one. If the second one was a huge hit and made a ton of money, then there would be Amazing 3, no doubt. I don't think it's because they wanted spin-offs. It was just because the movie didn't make the money that it needed to, and they just were panicking and were making weird decisions. But I think that if the movie had been a huge hit, we would have gotten Amazing 3. I don't know. That's my thoughts about it.
One question about it. And this is something that studios have done for all the time. If they want a big franchise or a big movie and somebody screws it up, they'll never take the blame saying, "Oh, my bad, it was us from a production standpoint or ownership." It's always, well, it's the director or the writer or the actor's fault. I mean, DC did this with... Yeah, Joel Schumacher is not the best writer of Batman, but when you hear some of the interviews Joel Schumacher done in the last 15 or so years since he's last did a Batman movie, if you listen to Joel Schumacher's interviews and you hear how he goes, I was constantly saying, I want to go where Tim went, I want to go with the more dark Batman, I want to be like a Batman almost what they did with the Nolan movies, I wanted to be more grounded in reality, I wanted to be dark, not so much Tim Burton dark, but dark enough that it fits in a real world, and that the studio was pushing for toys and the pawns and the colorful costumes and the colorful buildings and everything. And you feel like that some of the hate he got, he almost doesn't deserve in his interviews where he says, and because you can kind of see where the studio immediately went, it was him! We're rebooting the character somehow, but it's all him! And studios have done this 100 times with other franchises, where they'll point the finger the second things don't go the way they want, and once the blame looks like it's going to go to how dare you ruin our character, it becomes, no, it was this guy. We told him it was a bad idea, but he's the director or he's the writer, so we couldn't do nothing. So it was all his vision, even though we gave him all the ideas, but it was his vision.
So just to clarify my point, Amazing franchise got shafted. I don't like that, and I don't like the idea of I don't like the idea of Spider-Man being in the Avengers, which is obviously what everyone's clamoring for. I'm not a big fan of a quote-unquote Spider-Man major Marvel Universe character team-up movie, and really I'm not going to judge this solo movie off of, rumors or whatever. I'm not going to judge it off of that right now. We don't know anything set in stone other than a quote-unquote release date that's probably going to get pushed back. But I'm not going to judge it on that. I'm not that much of a dick. I'm not that much of a dick that I'll judge that movie off of basically nothing. But I fail to see how this is going to be any better than anything we've gotten before. I'm very underwhelmed by this. Now watch these movies be amazing, and then I'm going to have to eat shit, but...
Well, John, just to go with your point, when I say I'm really excited for this and I want Spider-Man in the Avenger movies, I don't mean I want him to join the team. I mean, I want to have scenes where Captain America, is waking up in the morning, or Tony Stark in Stark Tower, turns on the TV and sees J. Jonah Jameson on the news complaining about the heroes. I want to see a scene where Thor's flying around New York City gonna fight some monster, and then you see Spider-Man's web hanging off a building because he was just there web swinging. I want stuff like that. I want him in this universe and his movies to take place in the universe, but I don't want him to be, all of a sudden, I'm a new member of the Avengers. Buy my shit.
All right, so I guess that's gonna wrap up this special episode here, episode number 4 of Spider-Man's Tangled Web Show.
Did we talk about J.K. Simmons possibly maybe coming back as Jonah?
We talked about that last week.
Oh. Well, I wasn't there, so I'll just add on. I do find it kind of funny that, like, a few days before this news breaks, he's all like, well, if you ever get a call to return to play Jonah, would you? Well, actually, my agent got a call, and I can't really talk about it right now, but if I did, I might. That kind of makes me feel like, okay, if they're calling him around the same time this news breaks, they want J.K. Simmons as Jonah, and to that I bow before them, because J.K. is the only actor who could play Jonah right.
Absolutely.
Right now. So if you get J.K. Simmons in Captain America as one of the reporters, like maybe a Bugle reporter, and then he's in the office saying, Captain America and Iron Man, this war is going to destroy the city, and I knew these mass menaces were going to destroy New York after what they did with Avengers 1. That's going to be brilliant if you have that scene where all of a sudden the table flips and they go JJ and it's J.K. Simmons. And he's like, ever since what happened last time in New York, I said these mass menaces were menaces. Like, that would be the perfect way to introduce Jonah.
And then, all right, so that's going to conclude this special little episode here. We've got our next episode. It's not going to be this Saturday. It'll be the 21st. So check out for that. We'll talk about... basically, I guess, any more news that comes out about this. We'll talk about other Spider news. We'll talk about comics and all that stuff. So, James, say goodbye to the people.
All I can say is, for some reason, I got this weird image in my head of Mark Webb and Andrew Garfield sitting alone, and like that stereotypical girl going for a breakup. They're sitting around the couch. They got tears in their eyes. They're watching a romantic comedy. They're eating the ice cream. They're crying, and then in the background you hear, how could this happen to me? I've made my mistakes. You're just hearing that song, and they're in the ice cream. They're like, I love being Spider-Man. I love making money off Spider-Man. I got this image in my head. It's hilarious.
I prefer to think of Whitney Houston's "It's Not Right, but It's Okay."
Oh, and for my final words, tune into AGR. We got an interview with a Power Ranger somebody, not an actor, but somebody who's associated with the franchise coming up in the next few weeks. We're really hush-hush because we haven't got the dot the I's and cross the T's yet. But we got somebody coming in who pretty much basically said he's going to be there, but we're not going to say who until we know for sure. And also, we're going to be talking about Dino Charge, which so far has been our highest rated episode on YouTube. Thank you, guys. AGR, watch it.
All right, Jan, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye. Watch The Flash, and also, if you haven't seen X-Men Days of Future Past, go watch that movie because it's really good and stuff. Bye.
All right.
I'm sorry, I got that song stuck in my head now.
This is Spider-Man's Tangled WebShow. We appreciate Andrew Garfield, Mark Webb, all the stuff you guys did on your on your 2 movies. Props to you all. We appreciate your hard work. Thank you for 2 Spider-Man movies that we would not have gotten otherwise. And from my perspective, 2 amazing Spider-Man movies. See what I did there? All right, let's end this now before I make another bad pun. See you later, guys.